Thank you for tuning in to the Afternoon Pint. This episode is sponsored by Camilla Najat of Exit Realty, Strategy Up Business Consultants, and ISS Atlantic Security Guard Services. Enjoy the show. Cheers!
Cheers.
Welcome to the Afternoon Pint. I'm Mike Tobin.
I am Matt Conrad.
And who do we have with us today?
I'm Dave Muise, VP of Business Development from NuVista Psychedelic Medicine.
Wow, that's a long title. Could you say that one more time and slow it down? Psychedelic Medicine.
Yeah, so VP of NuVista, VP
problem.
of Business Development for NuVista Psychedelic Medicine.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. So there's a whole lot to unpack here. We've been trying to get you on for a little while now. Yeah. You're a busy guy. Yeah.
I am on the road a lot. So yeah, I'm here in Halifax. I live in New Brunswick, but so I'm here for 2 days. And then tomorrow I drive straight to PEI. There for until Thursday or Friday, and then back home. So yeah, I'm on the road quite a bit. And unfortunately, when I do come to Halifax, I'm jam packed. So it is, it has been hard to fit this in, but I'm very happy we're here doing it today.
Yeah, cool.
Well, thank you for making the time. We really appreciate it. I think it's something that's pretty interesting to kind of talk about. You know what? Instead of me explaining it, why don't you explain kind of a high level, and we'll dive down into it. But why don't you explain a high level what you guys do?
Yeah, so we're treating individuals who are suffering from PTSD, depression, high levels of anxiety, and a lot of that really stems or has an underlying issue of trauma. And what we've been treating our individuals with who are suffering from these diseases is we're using ketamine medicine or S-ketamine. So primarily we're using a nasal spray version of ketamine. Some of our clinics do offer a lozenge as well. And some of our clinics do offer it through IV. But really what we've learned is this medicine is rapid acting. Many of our clients are seeing very positive results very early in the treatment process. And some of the feedback that we're getting is they're coming back and telling us that it's been absolutely life-changing, and it's brought them back to who they were before.
Wow. That is life-changing. Yeah.
And do these studies, are they North American in origin, or do you know? I'm just kind of curious.
Honestly, all over the world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research going on in North America right now, but England's also huge in this space right now as well.
Cool.
And for anyone who doesn't know, can you explain just kind of again, you don't have to have a biology degree or anything, but what ketamine is? Yeah.
So ketamine was discovered, I believe it was in the early 60s. It originated as an anesthetic. So it is used every day in the ER, the operating room, for sedation, or it happens a lot with, in particular, children who come into the ER, maybe unfortunately in their car accident or something. And a lot of the times physicians are using ketamine to sedate. And what happened many years ago is a lot of these physicians were discovering that, post-operation, or if they had to reset a bone, whatever it may be, a lot of these kids or individuals who are coming in, they're in a good mood afterwards. So that's kind of where the research stemmed from. And what we've come to know is that this medicine, it has some really positive effects on the brain. It helps to create new neural pathways and just really open us up and give us a new perspective on life.
Okay, cool. I love the concept. Now, as those neural pathways open up or whatever, though, do they stay or do they start to erode over time without the ketamine? That's always like a concern or thought I'd have.
Yeah, so what this is designed to do is, again, open you up, start to create those new neural pathways, and really give you the tools in your toolbox to move forward in life and have a different perspective instead of, oh, poor me, this happened to me. It's, okay, this happened to me. How do I move on in life? How do I figure out how to have a more impactful life or a better life? To answer your question, yeah, the effects of the medicine does eventually wear off. So we do have individuals who come in for what we call a top-up or a booster. But again, it's not designed to be something that you have on a regular basis. It's let's open you up, let's create some new neural pathways, and then give you those tools moving forward for the rest of your life.
So how, how long would a treatment be? Like, how long would someone have to do this before you kind of let them kind of go on their own?
Yeah, so our clients are typically in clinic for about 2 hours or so. So
Okay.
there is a brief medical examination when they come in. We want to make sure that everything's safe to go the day of before we administer the medicine. Then they're under the effects of the medicine for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then again, we're doing some brief medical afterwards, after the medicine, to ensure the clients are safe to discharge. Essentially, we're looking to get vitals back to baseline, and really just make sure that they're good to go afterwards.
Now, can they drive back home that day? Like, no. if I come in and get a treatment, can I just take my car, drive home like a couple hours later?
No. So it is. We do recommend 24 hours before you do drive, and we do ensure that you have someone picking you up. A lot of our times, our nurses will even walk you out the door if you need some help or something walking. But yeah, we always make sure you have a drive home.
Smart.
So like that 2-hour process, like is that like all it takes kind of thing? Or is it like, are people scheduled like monthly for a little while, or is it just like 2 hours and then away you go, maybe a night to top up? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah. So we have 3 different programs. And I guess to answer your question quickly, then I'll explain a little bit.
Yeah.
Some clients, they've come to us and said after one session, it's completely changed their life. That's rare. And then on the other hand, we have a couple of individuals who, they don't really feel any true effects until much deeper in the program. So it's not scientific to that aspect. Everyone is different. But we do have 3 different plans, or 3 different ways we're administering right now. So one is a lozenge. What that program looks like is six ketamine sessions, usually once a week, followed up by therapy within 48 hours. And the reason we want to introduce therapy is, again, we've created new neural pathways. We've taken down those walls and barriers that we've put up. And then when we jump in there with a therapist, we can better equip you with all those tools.
Is there therapy ramping up to the ketamine intake, or like do you kind of get people to understand what demons are going to tackle or whatever? Or
so what we'll do is we'll have an intake process, kind of some prep sessions, and really just it's an opportunity for our therapists to get to know the client and get a better understanding of what are we trying to achieve here. So no, they're not diving in deep medicine. It's afterwards that they do a deeper dive. The second way we administer is an IV. Very similar program. It is 6 sessions once a week. Similar process. And then the one that we're really starting to introduce in the majority of our clinics now is it's a nasal spray. It's called Spravato. And that's a little bit deeper dive. So that's 20 sessions in total. For the first 4 weeks, the client's in twice a week. So we like to spread that out within, 48 hours. So if you come in on a Monday, you're not back in until at least Wednesday.
Okay.
So for the first 4 weeks, you're in twice a week, and then it tapers down to once a week, bi-weekly, and then monthly. And then from there, we just kind of gauge, does this individual need the top up or the boosters?
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. The, so is it's only ketamine that you guys are working on? Have you guys worked kind of diving into the psilocybin, any of that stuff yet?
Yeah, so through a partnership with a company out of Vancouver called Apex Labs, so they're working on using psilocybin to treat PTSD in veterans. We have had one individual come to our clinic that we had to go through special access program through Health Canada. It's about a 300-page document to be able to treat this one individual psilocybin as part of a trial. That went really well. So right now we're working on a much larger scale trial with them as well. So I think there's about 15 to 25 clients who are going to be, we're going to be administering psilocybin. For each one of those, we have to go through the SAP program and that 300-page document. But that's coming very soon.
Can I do it?
Are you a veteran?
No.
No. So that unfortunately that trial right now is only
it's just for veterans.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Fun to try.
Yeah.
Let's just be real.
The other thing I guess I kind of wanted to kind of ask about the because you were talking about the process and everything and you're also developing, you're the new business development guy, so do you find it's a bit of an uphill battle? Because I know sometimes ketamine can have a little bit of a stigma to it, as well as the others too, not only with people but also how's it dealing with government and trying to opening, because I know you're opening multiple clinics and things like that. You having trouble there? What's the uphill battle look like?
This episode is brought to you by Camille Najat with Exit Realty Metro.
Camille Najat is an experienced real estate agent who prides herself in finding the perfect home for her clients. Camille can help you with a comparative market analysis to help determine the value of your home if you're planning on selling, or help you determine the going rate for the neighborhood you're moving into. She can also work with you at your pace.
You can reach Camilla by calling 902-880-8429 or email camilla@exitmetro.ca.
Also, you can find her on Facebook at Camilla Najat, Exit Realty Metro.
Honestly, it's been surprising. Obviously, we've met some resistment, but honestly, it hasn't been as bad as I personally expected. We're very much in an education phase right now, for sure. There's a lot of physicians or therapists or just the general public. Maybe they've heard of this before, but they don't know a lot about it. So yeah, very much in that education phase. But as pure pushback, it honestly hasn't been as much as I anticipated.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I do think that, the general population is starting to come around a lot of the, other ways of doing things, right? I think, everyone learns differently, and I think everyone heals differently, right? So I think having a bunch of options, as long as it's not completely, hazardous to people, why not explore those things? And
have you had any forms of the therapy yourself? Tried it out?
Yeah, and maybe that's a good place to circle back to is kind of my origins in this field. So to do that, we have to kind of rewind to about 2007. I was living here in Halifax, going to university and playing hockey. And I was also a competitive soccer player. And at the time, I think it was 2007 and second year of university, I had my 6th or 7th concussion playing hockey.
Oh, okay.
And from there, I had a year of hockey eligibility left. I couldn't play soccer anymore. Went to go see a neurologist, and basically he recommended that I take a year off university. I was struggling reading and writing. I always had trouble reading and writing anyway, but this made it worse.
Right.
So I took that year off university. I wasn't playing sports anymore. I wasn't really going out with my friends as much. So I fell into a bit of a depression from there. And for the next 10 to 12 years or so, I self-medicate with alcohol. And it was 2019, if we fast forward, I was listening to a podcast, retired NHL player talking, Riley Cote was the player, talking about his post-career, and very similar. He was a fighter in hockey, multiple concussions, and he was self-medicating with alcohol and drugs. And he was talking about his experience through microdosing with psilocybin and how that really changed his life. So I was thinking, hey, I had tried mushrooms a couple times in university and really enjoyed that experience.
So sorry, in the book. So the book. What year was this that this happened? Do you think in the timeline of his story, the NHL player?
Not really sure. No.
Yeah. Is this modern or is it from?
Oh yeah. Riley Cote retired probably. I don't know. I want to say 2015.
Okay,
so.
Cool. So it's pretty recent, recent. Okay, cool.
So yeah, I decided I would give this a shot and start microdosing with psilocybin, and very quickly realized that there's some healing power in this medicine.
Now, sorry, I just want to ask for like our listeners, and you don't have to answer this. Did you do this without therapy? You just did this on your own, tried it out, like kind of? Yeah,
so tried it out on my own initially. This was very early on, kind of this renaissance of psychedelics. So, there was information out there, but I wasn't diving in too deep yet.
Sure.
So yeah, I started microdosing, and again, very early, I realized that there's some healing power in this. So at the time, I was in the financial planning industry, and I simply just started researching companies out there to buy their stocks. I kind of want to catch that next cannabis wave.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Didn't work out. So I was researching companies, and the more I kind of dove into this new field, the more I realized that there is truly healing power in these medicines. So I started, I dove in deeper, and I actually started working on a business plan to open clinics here in Atlantic, Canada, thinking, we're usually 10 years behind the rest of the country. No other companies looking at coming here. So this was about 2020-ish. I was about 2 months into my business plan, and I realized that there was a company coming to Fredericton opening a ketamine clinic. The company is called Field Trip Health. They're based out of Toronto. At their peak, they had about 15 clinics. So they were in Toronto, Vancouver, LA, New York, Houston, San Diego, Chicago, Amsterdam. And then they were putting one in Fredericton.
Cool. Weird, but cool.
Yeah.
Like it's a strange place to pick out of, all of Canada or all of anywhere, I guess.
It's a lot different than LA for sure.
Yeah.
So kind of learning this, I said, oh shit, kind of pushed my business plan to the side. And out of nowhere, I just decided to cold call the CEO of Field Trip. Said, this is who I am, what I do, why I'm interested in to find a role for me. So about 2 weeks later, I left my 11-year career in financial planning and joined Field Trip. And I was with them until probably May or March, I think, of 2023, running the Fredericton Clinic. Unfortunately, so at one point, they were the largest ketamine clinic or company in the world. They had raised $123 million.
Wow.
Fast forward to March of 2023, kind of all of that money was gone and they were going under.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So still having that passion and living in the world and seeing the effects that it had on people, I want to keep this alive. So kind of dusted off the business plan, reached out to a ER physician, friend of mine in New Brunswick, Dr. Hanif Chator, and said, hey, would you be interested in kind of diving into this with me? And, he has some knowledge in ketamine just using it in the ER, but outside of that, it wasn't a thing he was really following too closely. But he jumped on board and we started working on a business plan to keep the Fredericton Clinic alive. And then, how do we grow it from here? And very early on, we realized, we need a bigger, better partner. And I kind of figured there were some people, other groups out there who are looking to take over the Fredericton Field Trip location. And
so business was good, is what you're saying. It was just the financials.
Yeah. So the Fredericton Clinic with Field Trip was doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Some of the other clinics who had very high over rent, I know there's a couple of clinics that their monthly rent was about $30,000. So
wow.
Yeah. So the cash burn was real there.
Yeah.
Realizing that we needed a better partner, I reached out to a group and an individual, Dr. Mark Johnston, who's a psychiatrist here in Nova Scotia. He primarily works with veterans and first responders. I kind of had a hunch that he may be looking to take over that clinic, so I reached out to him, and he was interested to have a conversation. Not only is he a psychiatrist, but he also owns 15 psychology clinics.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So they're called True North. And they're spread from Nova Scotia all the way to Alberta.
I'm familiar with the organization.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark's a great guy, very, client first. And his goal is to create the first mental health network that spans coast to coast under his True North psychology clinics. So we reached out to him. Dr. Chator and I had a conversation with him. And we said, hey, let's do this. And so we kind of joined forces, and we started with the Fredericton location. We're now in, obviously, Fredericton still. We're in Halifax, Greenwood, we have a location, St. John's, Newfoundland. And within a week or two, or maybe 3 weeks, we're opening in PEI in Charlottetown.
Wow.
And Gander, Newfoundland as well.
Gander.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so to this day, just to go back to your story, the alcohol, I don't think you drink anymore. That's correct.
Nope.
You told me that, right? Before
Yep.
we met. And so what are your concerns? Or you have to be careful with this stuff because whether you tried mushrooms, or whatever, however you want to say it, there's good trips, there's bad trips. Not everybody reacts the same way. I might have a great experience and the next person might have a terrible one, right? How do you possibly manage that people don't have a negative experience? Is it through microdosing, or how's the science work behind that?
Yeah, so there's a couple different factors in there, and I guess I'll start. We're not naive to know or to think that people aren't out there microdosing with psilocybin, or they're finding ketamine on the street. And one thing I would say is just be very safe with that. As I mentioned, I jumped right into the psilocybin on my own without really doing too much research.
Right.
Pretty novice to where I think I am today. But what I've learned is there's a lot of underlying medical issues that maybe we were aware of or we're not aware of, that these medicines can affect you.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that we're big on, is screening. We want to make sure that this is safe for you. So any client who's interested in coming through our program, the first step is meeting with one of our psychiatrists. They do a psych evaluation to make sure it's a good fit for you. They're looking to see if you've tried other methods, because this, by Health Canada, this is kind of an alternative. So it's kind of a last resort. So we do need to see that you've tried other things. So again, from a psych standpoint, psychiatrist screening, and then you would meet with a nurse practitioner. You do a medical screening. Again, looking for those underlying medical issues that we may or may not be aware of.
Wow. So the process must be long just to get in the door, is it?
Not necessarily. No? We can hammer out those first couple of sessions pretty quick, within a week or two.
Wow. Okay.
And then, so once that screening process has been approved by our medical team, and then depending on which way you're going through our program, it's, which way of method of administrating. It's different programs, as I mentioned earlier, but most people right now are going with the nasal. So again, you'd meet with your nurse practitioner to do the medical screening. And then when you come in to the clinic the day of medicine, one thing you'll notice is our clinics are beautiful. So set and setting is very important. So we want to make sure that when you walk into our clinic, there's nothing that's dark and gloomy. So for example, our Fredericton location has live moss all over the walls.
Oh, live what?
Moss.
I thought you said moths. I hate moths. I'd have a terrible
green
experience.
Walls.
Yeah. Okay, green walls are fine.
Yeah, so absolutely beautiful. And then also your mindset when you come in. If you've had a bad morning or afternoon or whatever it may be, you got in a fight with your spouse or traffic was horrible and it's got you all tense, might not be the best time to take this medicine.
Right.
So those bad trips happen, when we probably shouldn't be having the medicine anyway.
Fair enough, yeah.
Right.
Or we're in a bad set and setting.
And there's a real discomfort. It's probably most people, I imagine, have a bad trip, right?
Yeah, 100%. So, if we date back to the time we've been with Field Trip to where we are now, that's 4 years or so. We've done a few thousand of these sessions. Honestly, I would say we've had no real bad trips. Definitely no medical issues. One thing that's not common, but there's probably been 5 times we've had to intervene with our medical team, and it was just kind of a panic attack.
Right.
Because what this medicine can do is bring up some emotions. And
I imagine,
if we're not willing to let go and just let the medicine do all the work and take us through what we need to go through, and we fight that, that's when we can kind of have a panic attack or something bad could happen. So that's part of our prep work as well, is just let the medicine do the work. Don't fight it.
And you guys have nurses and staff on site to assist with that, from what I understand as well,
so
right?
When you come in for your ketamine session, you would again be screened the day of. It's very common that blood pressure may be elevated day of, just a little bit of anxiety. We have everything on site that we would need in the event of a medical emergency. But again, medical happens the day of, just to be sure that everything's good to go. During their whole session, the clients are hooked up to a medical monitoring device that tracks their vitals the entire time. And then we have, for every 4 clients we're treating, we would have a nurse practitioner and an RN on site as well.
Oh, okay. For every 4. Okay. How many people, how much staff do you have per clinic?
This episode is brought to you by Strategy Up. Strategy Up is a business consulting firm led by Mark Zerka, who has over 20 years' experience in building commercial strategies that will up your game, organize your teams, increase your productivity, and grow your business.
Whether you're a construction company looking to grow your revenue or a busy restaurant owner just trying to keep the doors open, Strategy Up can help. Strategy Up's boutique-style consultations will help you improve business process across nearly any industry.
Being a successful entrepreneur does not mean you have to be an expert in everything. Strategy Up specializes in building a relationship with you. Once pain points in the business are realized, Strategy Up will introduce process and technology that will power up your game to the next level.
A successful business requires investment. Your next step towards growth starts now. Email info@mystrategyup.com for a free business discovery call. Up your game with Strategy Up.
It varies. So a lot of our staff, they work elsewhere. So this is kind of a...
Oh, okay. So you kind of contract them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think all of our staff, our medical staff, are contractors. So we kind of hire a few nurses, and then just we get their availability, and then we schedule them accordingly.
Nice.
Oh, okay. Well, that works out really well. Yeah, because that way we're not like, losing other medical staff that we need to also have.
Well, yeah.
here.
Well, like partner Andrea, she works about 35 hours a week, so she'd be perfect to maybe come in and do a shift here or there.
Yeah. So exactly,
right.
that's what the majority of our nursing staff would look like from their scheduling standpoint. Though I will say, after they've been with us for a few months, we're starting to get some comments or some, calls like, hey, like, do you think I could leave Nova Scotia Health and come work for you guys full time?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm sure it sounds like an amazing job.
Yeah, it's
we're helping people in a totally innovative way.
100%. Yeah. It's very rewarding. Unfortunately, I'm not around the clients as much. I don't get to live that experience like they do. But when I am around clients, I get to see the positive results and hear how it's affected them. It is amazing. So they're lucky. They
primarily veterans now,
Yeah.
and folks with PTSD that you're helping out. What other? I mean, I know this is a careful question, but what other ailments do you hope to help in the future?
That's one thing. And to add to that, because your personal story, you were talking about hockey and concussions. I mean, I played football, so I know I've had at least 3 decent concussions from football.
Right.
Do you see this at all being able to help with like CTE?
Yeah, it's funny. So we have veteran ambassadors. They're individuals who've gone through the program, and it's completely changed their life. So they want to be out there helping their brothers and sisters, and educating them. And he, unfortunately, when he was in the military, he had a very severe crash and had some brain trauma to him. Yeah. And, that's really affected his life. And it's funny enough, this week or last week, he sent me an article. And I can't remember if I think it was ketamine or psilocybin. They're now researching quite heavily for CTE and brain damage for sure.
That'd be huge.
Yeah.
That would be huge.
Yeah. So, right now we're treating mainly PTSD, treatment-resistant depression. That's what Health Canada considers on label. What we also know that it's rapid affecting for anxiety. And then, if we look at anxiety, depression, PTSD, it's all, a lot of it is a baseline of trauma underneath the issue. So we do know ultimately it does treat trauma as well. But there's a lot of research going into many different things that this can help with right now. So,
how about ADHD?
Yeah, so there is some research going on that right now. Personality disorder. I recently read an article that it's producing some of the best results ever for individuals who are suffering from personality disorder.
Okay. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Alcoholism and nicotine. I think in the last 12 months or so, there was a study out on each. And the results were right around 80% of the participants sustained from those 2 substances for 12 months, which is for nicotine was by far the best results ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quitting smoking is the hardest thing in the world. I used to smoke, and man, oh man, it took me forever to give it up.
And now he's addicted to mints.
No, these are regular mints. But,
regular mints, yes.
I always keep some with me, and it just helps me out.
Buy some by the crateful. Because it's kind of interesting. I mean, when we look at when we talked about this a little bit on, we had someone on who does cannabis therapy, right? So we talked a little bit about this. Angela, I thought it was, with Angela.
Angela worked with you, actually. We should, to some extent. Is that correct?
Yeah, we didn't, never went anything official. We were definitely in some conversations of what we could do together. Yeah, cool. So I'm actually originally from Yarmouth, and she's from Yarmouth originally too. Okay. So yeah, small world. Yeah.
So we talked a little bit on this too, because I watched a documentary about addiction, and I thought that it was really interesting, the connection that people who were addicts or had some kind of psychological problems due to the addiction, or they were addicted because of some of the psychological issues. Anyway, the common thread that they talked a little bit about, but I didn't think they really focused on it enough, is that these guys are all pepperheads. So they all eat extreme hot peppers. And they've all managed to give up their addictions by having these hot pepper, by eating them competitively, you'd almost say they replaced the addiction with hot peppers, but the capsaicin, which is the thing that makes you feel the heat, right? We have capsaicin receptors in our mouth, and depending on how sensitive they are, depends how much you feel that heat and whatever. Anyway, through this whole thing is a lot of these pepperheads were people who had addiction issues, and the capsaicin, like they basically were able to go like give up cold turkey their addictions. And I thought that was really interesting because this is kind of in the same world, I guess, of where you guys are, because it's something that's, maybe not have been originally intended. And now all of a sudden we're seeing this weird side effect of something. So I don't know. I find that really, really interesting. I don't know if you guys are ever going to explore,
like the hot pepper room. It's like, this is the
you
mushroom
never know,
room. And then
right? There's, they're going to make pizzas eventually.
Which treatment would you prefer? I'm like, I would take the hot peppers, please.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know if there's something more to it, but I kind of feel like there should be more something to explore there. I mean, I'm someone who rarely ever gets sick, and almost never, honestly. And I eat a lot of insane, tense, like hot, spicy food kind of thing. Mm. And I at this point, being around my wife who gets sick all the time, and then my son gets sick and everything, I'm just coasting along. And I'm just kind of like, there has to be something to this.
Maybe it's just you believe bullshit, right? And you just believe, like, made something up in your mind. Like, I think, like...
But I never thought like that before.
A little olives and peanut butter, that was my favorite snack before bed. Like, maybe have a little bit of that.
Peanut butter?
Keeps my skin nice, I just think maybe that's a thing.
Maybe, but that doesn't sound like a good combination.
It sounds odd,
cool,
but you never know, right? It could help my skin out.
Are you sure you're not pregnant?
Or high.
Or high.
No, sober. I've been doing this since 16. I'll put olives on the peanut butter on a cracker.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite nighttime snacks. Been doing it
sure.
It's
all right.
Tastes fantastic.
I didn't know this about you. I learned something about you. I've known this guy for 20 years.
You got to try this out sometime. Man.
Yeah, I'll try it.
I think it's the reason I feel so good all the time. Yeah, it's my secret.
Do you?
My secret snack.
Do you feel good all the time?
Maybe not all the time.
Anyway, I don't know. We get a real sidetrack there, but that's fine. That's good for a laugh. Do you with these? So I mean, obviously you're expanding, so that's really great. Do you see yourself being able to? I mean, obviously, hopefully you do because it's your job to expand. But do you see these in like every kind of city, town kind of thing? Because I mean, obviously traveling all the time, it's not always convenient for someone. If someone had to go from Yarmouth, we'll say, to come all the way here, 3 hours is not convenient, and they can't drive, right? So, yeah, do you see a market like kind of having these clinics spread throughout the province, throughout the country?
I do. Accessibility is a huge issue in this platform right now. As you mentioned, there's getting to the clinic, from the clinic, the travel distance. For many people, there is a cost barrier for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily see it in every town, but definitely pockets that we're definitely more accessible to the general public than maybe we are today. But like for example, if we look at where our clinic in Greenwood, not too far from Yarmouth, it's a 2-hour drive. But yeah, that is ultimately the goal. Is we want to be coast to coast in the next couple of years or so. Yeah. And so I already mentioned we're opening PEI in Gander this month, but beyond that, we're already looking at Moncton, Sydney, Cape Breton. Yeah. We are opening in New Minas as well, even though we're in Greenwood. It's been doing very well there. We're looking at St. John, New Brunswick, and then once we've got Atlantic Canada secured, we're heading west.
You're hitting. I mean, I know because you said you do a lot of stuff with veterans. So I mean, at least you're kind of hitting those spots where you would see a high concentration of veterans. I mean, obviously Greenwood, Fredericton being so close to Oromocto. Here, we have a lot of military in Halifax. Yeah. I mean, so that makes a lot of sense actually where you guys are strategically kind of putting. So I mean, that kind of makes sense if that's where your focus is going to be. I mean, do you see things? Obviously, you can do non-veterans for at least the ketamine stuff, not for the psilocybin yet. Yeah,
so right now, only our Fredericton location can see non-veterans.
Okay.
The reason for that is where it is a Schedule I drug, there's certain protocols that we have to follow, which the biggest one is it has to be in a safe, behind a locked door that's continuously monitored. To put that in all of our clinics, it's about a $50,000 investment.
Wow.
So our theory is let's just go in, let's see if this is successful.
Yeah.
Let's get it built. And then, then we'll make the investment into the rest of our clinics to make sure that we can see the general public. It definitely is unfortunate that we're not able to treat everyone today.
Yeah.
But ultimately that is a goal of ours. We do get a lot of questions and people interested in the program. And just as today, it's only our Fredericton location that can see civilians.
Cool.
And you did mention a cost to that kind of thing. So is this something that's covered by insurance of any sorts?
Each individual's plan is obviously different. Some people, for sure, it's covered. For others, it's not. So I do recommend you do reach out to your individual insurance provider. For a lot of people, the nasal spray Spravato is covered.
Oh, okay.
There is a copay there on it, obviously, but again, it's just best to reach out to your own individual insurance provider.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, if anyone's looking, I don't know, you probably have like obviously just different treatment plans, but what is like cost range from like kind of roughly?
Yeah. So for a non-veteran to go through our program in Fredericton, the program includes the psych evaluation, the medical evaluation, the prep work to make sure that you're fully prepared for the program, 6 ketamine sessions and therapy. It's about $6,600.
Okay. All right. Honestly, I thought it was actually going to be more than that. Like, not to sell the like, that's cheap, but like, honestly, like medical procedures can be costly.
Well, it's like Audrey. Yeah.
So that was a big goal of ours.
Costly, yeah. Sorry.
That was a big goal of ours when we started this. So again, we look back at Field Trip. Their program is about $8,000. So that was a big thing. Is we wanted to be accessible on our locations, and then our price point as well. There's a lot of people out there suffering from mental health. It's a huge crisis.
Yeah, it's a huge crisis, and they quite frankly don't have enough people to help the problem right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to make it more accessible. And honestly, I know it sounds expensive, and it is. But you look at the cost of paying for physicians, if you're getting the IV treatment, if you're getting the lozenge, we have to pay nurse practitioners, nurses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a high overhead. So our margins aren't as sexy as you may think. We would love for it to be cheaper. And maybe we'll one day find a way to get it there. Just this is where we are today. Okay. So is it best people go on your website to kind of explore more? Or how's the best way to kind of start uncovering this for themselves if they think it's right for them? Yeah. So there's a couple different avenues they can take. So clients can self-refer. They can be referred by their physician, psychologist, psychiatrist. Just NuVista Psychedelic Medicine. Or if you're on the True North website, there's a way to get to us from there. Cool. So just if you Google NuVista Psychedelic Medicine, you'll find us. It kind of brings you to the Fredericton homepage, but all of our clinics kind of funnel through Fredericton for booking, et cetera. We're also on Facebook, Instagram. We're easy to find. Easy to find. Cool.
And I know we have some fun questions here, but I just wanted to like mention one thing before we moved into the fun stuff. Even though this is coming out later, yesterday was Remembrance Day. So in a weird kind of way, I know we've been trying to get you on for a while, but seeing how that you're doing so much work, and we talked a lot about veterans and how much work you're trying to put in to help them. I don't know. It feels like it might have been almost kind of meant to be to sit here and talk to you the day after Remembrance Day and talk so much about what you're doing for our vets that go through a lot. Right?
Yeah. And it's funny. I was thinking about that on my drive here. I was a little worried about being late. I was trying to get ready, and honestly, I had about, I want to say about 10 calls or messages through our paid social media from veterans, asking about our program, trying to learn more. Wow. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think for a lot of people, yesterday was a tough day.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, we had a lot of people reaching out today, and you got to feel for those individuals. Yeah. I don't think we'll ever truly understand what they've gone through and what they're currently going through. Right. And respect the bravery of reaching out for help too.
Yep.
That's a huge thing. It is.
So many people suffer in silence, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And it's a generational thing. I mean, one good thing about the younger generation, sometimes we're critical. Yeah. But I think they're better at realizing they need help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think if you look at the military itself, it is vastly men. And I'm going to generalize here, but usually, we have big egos. We don't think we need help. Just taking that step of reaching out is huge for them.
Big time. I think I served 3 years in reserves. I mean, there is a certain machoism that comes along with being in the military. I was Army. I was infantry. So very much in that world. There definitely is that. So I think that, the more we can get the message out that it's okay to get help. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And one thing we've done to overcome that barrier is we've created a team of veteran ambassadors, which I touched on earlier. So I think we have about 5 individuals. They're all veterans, even retired RCMP in there as well, who've gone through our program. And again, it's changed their life. And not only them that are saying that, it's their spouses or their kids or their parents that this program changed you. So what we've done is for those individuals who they're a little weary of the program, they've heard bad things about psychedelics or ketamine. It's an opportunity to reach out to one of our ambassadors. It's a brother or sisterhood in the military, and a veteran's more likely to listen and be open to another veteran opposed to me who is, not a veteran. I've never lived their world. So it's that team of veteran ambassadors have already helped a lot of people.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
That's awesome.
Let's get to fun questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
These questions
That's
mean
perfect.
nothing, right? And sometimes we say if you don't want to answer the question, have a sip of your water, right? These are really easy though. I don't think you'll have trouble answering them.
I think so.
Okay. Number 1, Leafs or Canadians?
Dallas Stars.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, what's the relationship there, real quick?
Just grew up a Mike Badano fan.
There you go. I was going to say,
and I've been obsessed with him since I was 10 years old.
Right on. Cool.
One of the best American hockey players ever, probably.
No, he's the best.
Cool. I was leaving out for debate, but sure.
Go ahead, buddy.
Favorite book?
Tuesdays with Maury.
Tuesdays with Maury.
What's that about?
So true story. Individual, I think it was university teacher. He's a sports columnist now for ESPN. His favorite prof was diagnosed with ALS, and they lost touch over time. Long story short, the diagnosis, and then the author of the book goes to visit him, I think, every week, and just for the next few years, and they bond it, and it was kind of just a whole story of life lessons.
Cool.
All right.
Question number 3, favorite movie? Well, it could just be a great movie you always want to go back to for any reason.
I'd probably say, the thing that
Trolls 2.
probably
Any of the Trolls movies.
Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers.
Okay, that's
just
awesome pick.
The number of one-liners in there.
That is a fantastic.
That's
movie.
a fantastic movie.
It never dies. Nor does Step Brothers, dude.
No.
Yeah. We can still watch Step Brothers time and time again at home and laugh every single time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, classic.
All right. Let's see here. That's one.
That's it.
Oh, that was it. Okay,
Yeah.
we have 4. We have 4 questions.
Oh, it's
All
only
right.
4. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
We have the other one here. So, what's one thing everyone can do to make the world a better place?
Love each other.
Love
Love each other. All right.
That's a great answer. And
It's
you know
a great
what?
answer.
Usually the number 1 answer is kindness. Be kind, but love
That's
each other
right
is
in
even
that
better.
realm. It's right in that realm.
Right in that same pocket, though, man. So thank you so much for coming with us and sharing this information. We really appreciate it. And I hope that if you're suffering, you check out the services they provide.
Check out any services if you know, because they can handle certain things. But anytime if you have anything, obviously go get the help you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life's too short to sit there in silence and suffer.
100%.
Absolutely. And thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to The Afternoon Pint. We are an independent podcast and we need your support. Please take a moment to hit that like, follow, and share button. Email us if you have an idea or suggestion for the show. Please send your feedback. We'd love to hear from you.